Okay, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm Jo Wintrot, and this is the Amijo Show. I am very thrilled to have Kenny. Now, I'm never going to get your right name right. Mammarella-D'Souza. Is that?
Perfect.
Oh, there we go. There's hope for me yet doing that. There is hope for me yet. Lovely to meet you. You are very kindly, a mutual connection of ours, Johnny Jensen, kindly connected us. And thankfully, you've just come back from being in a lovely, hot, sunny place, and you're back in the end of London, aren't you? So welcome to the Mijo Show, Kenny.
Thank you so much. And what a treat to suddenly meet you and feel like already we're at some sort of a level here where we can hang out, tell the truth, and explore what's going on. So I'm fine.
So root in a pound in the pot is a swear word. Is the other swear word? Put a pound in the pot. I'm going to charge everyone. I'm going to keep a tally of who uses the F word, the other. Well, so listen, we started talking obviously before I hit the record button. We started talking, and you immediately shared how you're grieving for your wife, but thankfully she's live and healthy and fine. So don't worry, everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just tell us about that, because I can relate to that.
Well, lockdown has been very, very strange. So I'll tell you the wife bit first, and then I'll go straight into the heavy bit. My wife and I have been really very blissfully at home. I think it took her a few days to settle into being at home with me, because I can be loud, I guess is the word. And I've been on Zoom non-stop, day and night, very busy, like the Tasmanian devil. It's been crazy, but we settled into our groove, and it was just wonderful to have so much time, especially in the summer. It makes a difference when the sun shines. So she started her new job a week ago, and I've noticed it. And okay, embarrassing story number one. And then I found myself wanting to pick on my best friend. And it's like, what's going on? And then I realized, I got into the feeling, and I realized that there was a feeling of abandonment. And it's a very childish feeling. It's not necessarily, a grown up. It's certainly not logical. And then I realized that feeling was there. Then it's like, well, I love this guy. And that's probably why I can take stuff out on him, and he can take stuff out on me. But I realized it was abandonment. And when I told my life, she said, oh my God, I so feel for him having to put up with you.
Brilliant. I love it.
But the first time, I went into lockdown a week before it was official, because a guy who I work with said, I've got the symptoms. I think it might be wise for you to isolate. So we isolated. I got the text on the way back. My wife and I went to a West End show a friend's wife was in. So that was our last show. That was our last piece of normality. And after the first day of lockdown, I found myself looking out of the window for something. And what was missing was the military. And then I realized that I basically flashed back to my childhood. I'm a refugee from Uganda, and my family were on Idi Amin's death list. So we went into hiding after the phone call saying, we're going to come and kill you. Before that, the phones were bugged and we were followed, so we isolated anyway. But I flashed back into hiding, expecting to see military on the streets and curfew. And I just thought, I know how to do this. As soon as I realized where I flashed back to, I thought, yeah, I know how to do this, and I'd better prepare. So from then, I guess to this day, and for however long it is necessary, I've put on weekday lunchtime kind of mini men's groups for men to check in and say what's going on. So they're not on their own trying to fix things as boys do, or avoid things or suppress things, but speaking it out and not being alone, I feel is worth its weight in gold. And for men, for anyone to name what's going on, rather than blame it because of this and that in my childhood. And yeah, that's the story, but time to move on. And the other thing is the shame of it. But to be able to check in and say, what's going on now? And for them to say, this actually reminds me of when I was sent to boarding school, or when I was locked in the laundry room when I misbehaved as a child. And it was just, it broke my spirit. So for us to know what we're being fueled by and being able to be present and connected to take care of ourselves and our families and whatever it is that needs navigating during lockdown, worth its weight in gold. So it's been a busy time, and it's on every day. I don't hold them every day anymore. When I went to Portugal, the team, because I've trained people, the team have been taken over. So I'm in the background debriefing these days a lot of the time.
It's such an amazing offering. It really, really is. And so needed. Needed anyway, before these crazy times, let
Yeah.
alone needed right now. And the word I want to just bring back and highlight is the word of abandonment and going into your child. Because isn't that the more authors I speak to about this book that's coming up, published soon, but the more authors I speak to, the more stories I read. It's that very simple moment when actually you're, however old you are, I don't know how old you are, Kenny, I don't know, 35 maybe,
56.
35.
I wish.
Um, so it's that moment when you suddenly look at or feel into yourself and suddenly feel 5 years old again,
Yeah.
7 years old, 13. And so you're expected to be the person who's going off to work, who's managing the business, or going off doing whatever they need to do and keeping everything together. And then suddenly you're feeling sort of this small again.
Yeah.
And that is the saddest and toughest thing. And so how do you get over that? What would be because I've heard this so many times. So what would be your best top tips for men that know or perhaps are in it right now to help themselves come out of that?
The first thing to do, I would say, is always take a breath. Because if there's no breath, there's panic. And if there's panic, then I am owned by the drama. I've been seduced by the issue, and there's no one home. I'm back there rather than here. And in a breath, what I've learned to do is not just breathe in to be present and out of my head and in my body. And the head is panic and fixing, and it's just mush. So I'm in my body. And what I tell people to do is feel what they're feeling now and really feel it and follow the feeling back. And generally, in a split second, they're back at the so-called scene of the crime, or the time or the space of the broken spirit. And it may be an incident, it may be a phase in life, but at least they know what's being triggered and what's fueling this situation here. Because I generally believe that people aren't angry or upset for the reason they think they are. It's charged by something. So it's back there. And it's fine knowing this. That's information. But then things need to shift. So the next thing I tell them to do is, as you've located where and when, then the man in you needs to take care of that child, because otherwise that child is going to be sent, kind of presented and offered to every Tom, Dick and Mother Mary to rescue me, be my mummy. And this is where wives and lovers turn into mothers, or be my daddy, or be my mentor, or be my savior. And it's like offering the child not only to be saved, but to repeat the pattern of, and then you'll let me down because that's what I'm used to. And it need only have happened once. It's not about a pattern and, betraying the loving family or anything like that. This is emotional. It's not logical. So they get to locate the time and the place, and the man in them, in a breath, can say, it's all right, I'm here. Inside, to tell the child, it's all right, I'm here. No big explanations. Don't torture the child with information. All it needs to know is that it's safe and there is a man here. And then this man is present or adult is present and connected and able to respond to life. Where what so often happens is an abandoned child. So when the broken spirit happened, then it would be very normal for a protecting part to show up. And the protecting part is, this child will be safe and no one will hurt this child again. And then the spirit of the person goes into hiding. People may not know that spirit. There might be the odd twinkle in the eye, who knows what, but that's the spirit. And the protector will basically, the protector's job is survival, not living, not thriving, not loving, not growing. Too dangerous. We're talking basic survival. So the protector will have a kind of enmeshed relationship with that spirit, keeping the child safe until the man shows up. And when the child is safe, there's less work for the protector. So it's no longer a traumatized child, it's a free-spirited child. And it would be normal that the protector will not trust the adult that's shown up until that adult shows up consistently. Because it's like, why would any good protector, and every protector is a good protector, I believe, why would any protector suddenly abandon the child because there's a do-gooder here for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
So that's the way that generally things navigate. And people get used to practicing this, breathing, knowing which part of them, obviously we have so many sub-personalities, but knowing which part of them has showed up. And when there's a safe child, then the protector's not so freaked out. And the protector will generally recreate whatever it is that happened in the first place because it knows how to survive it. In control, the best that we can have will be, on a good day, the best that we've had in the past. There's no space for anything new. So those are the tips and those are the ways that I've got people to very quickly locate and navigate what's going on. And it's not, if it slips, oh, I've got it wrong. It's more time to adjust. You've noticed, so take a breath, get present and connected, adjust and respond rather than reacting.
Wow. Well, there we go. That was an absolute masterclass in dealing with any kind of a little bit of trauma that comes your way. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's really interesting, because when lockdown happened, I went into child mode because I have claustrophobia. And I was very grateful at the time. A friend who's a psychologist went through a very similar, not exactly the same, a similar exercise with me, and we nurtured my child. And yes, I was locked up in a small room when I was a kid. So yeah, it was there for me, and it came back when Boris told me that I had to stay at home. So it's happening for everyone, isn't it? And in various different ways. And that is one of the many layers of what is going on when there's uncertainty with work and everything. But I'd like to bring it back to your story, because obviously there's a very strong reason, and that, with people that do what you do, people that follow what I call your soulful, your Dharma work, there's a very big reason, isn't there? And that's from obviously your own story. Would you like to share a little bit more about that?
After, so we fled, we went into hiding. My mother, brother and I came to the UK, and we were in refugee camps, and my father was left behind because he was on the death list. He got smuggled to Italy. We didn't know. He said to me before we left at the age of 7, you may never see me again. You're now the head of the family. So that was duty. And I don't know, I might say the same thing. What does a man say to his eldest child in such a horrific situation? And from then, when he joined us, I think it was 9 months later, we moved into a small town in Wales, Fishguard, in West Wales. And in the 70s, it was one of the poorest parts of Europe. It was also so incredibly accepting and loving and supportive and sharing. It was ridiculous. We didn't know how to cook or clean. We didn't know what to buy when we go to the shops. We didn't have anything. We didn't have a clue. And we were shown. Our next door neighbors didn't want us to move down the road to a house that was in better nick. And they basically said, well, we'll redecorate your house for you then. So going back to lockdown, there was toilet roll gate where everyone hoarded, and it was the separation and every man for himself, and it hurt. It's just not natural for me. It was just, and I kind of thought, I wonder how long this will last, because surely from the separation and fear will come connection and love. And my intention with the groups was, from social isolation, surely here's a space for conscious connection. And the way that people have changed, and the way that people have turned into the community I was used to from Wales, is in a way what I'm bringing to London and to corporates and to all my nice, brilliantly boarding schooled private clients and everyone else, because money can't buy this. And the way that I've seen people change and the way I've seen communities come together has been an absolute dream come true. The way that people, as you've described this yourself, have been triggered and back into the old wounds and the old traumas, and actually turn them around, have had the time and the space and the community to turn things around, have been phenomenal. And I've had to do that myself after refugee camps. And when we first moved to Wales, I had obsessive compulsive disorder, Tourette's, body dysmorphia, trichomania. I was twitching and grunting and God knows everything else, eating disorders. It just went on. And most of it, for most of the time, was my dirty little secret. The only one that I couldn't hide was, with the family, they could see me OCDing. And with the twitching and grunting and things like that, it was just the overflow as I was holding it together. And most of these things were not known then. That was 1972. So I had to unlearn these things and somehow learn how to meet this trauma and the panic and the anxiety and calm it down. So because I've done it for myself, it's been amazing to be able to pass it on. And it's really weird, during lockdown, everything made sense. Why was I a refugee from Uganda? What's this with refugee camps? What was it about Uganda and everything I went through? Why was I in such a loving community in Wales? And then I moved to southern England, where it's not that loving necessarily. And it's all come together, and I just get it. Now I have the tools and the situation. And to be frank, the old world, the way it was before this, I'm not sure I wanted to be a big success in that, because I didn't buy it. I didn't buy society and what it was all about. But the way things are changing now, it's time, because now there's an opportunity to build a world that I actually want to take part in and that I want to grow. And initially I was running workshops called Conscious Isolation. Now I'm doing Conscious Reinvention. And Conscious Reinvention is not about who should I be and who do I want to be. It's who am I really? And the way we've been stripped right back to the core, a lot of us have got to know who we are. And it's been quite shocking and icky at times. But it's those places, unlearning them, including them rather than surviving them, and maybe not even having the time to feel them. This is the way that I've claimed myself back, and people have been held safely, and rather than hovering over the trauma, they've gone into it and they felt through it and out the other side with the tools for their pathway. So it's really, really made sense. And the conscious reinvention is, I'm going to include myself in the world. And now the world can meet me, and I can create the world that I wish to live in the way that I am, because I know who I am so much better. And I've had the space to learn about who and what matters during the isolation, and even maybe got to know how to communicate and how to know my boundaries. So it's all made sense. It's amazing. And I feel it's time. It's time now.
Oh, brilliant. I think my head's going to drop off. I'm nodding so. I love what you just said, because actually it's exactly how I see this time. I wasn't a publisher 9 months ago. I balked at the idea of publishing a book. Like, how can I manage that?
Yeah.
And then, but it is fascinating, because I think actually so many of us have gone through, like you said, this moment of trauma, and for various different reasons when this whole situation has happened. And when we go through difficult times, as you obviously have, I have had my fair share for sure. You actually dig much deeper within yourself, and you have this moment of mindfulness, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And that is what we're saying, isn't it? Is that is what's happening right now. We're getting what I call as monumental mindfulness,
Yeah.
because we can't really go anywhere. It looks like we really can't go anywhere again in the UK. And
Yeah.
so actually we're having to be still. We're having more time to just be. And it is a time for reinvention. I think that's a fantastic
Mm.
concept, because why not? If you can't, this is being handed to us on a plate, isn't it?
Yeah.
To look at what we really strive for in life. Materialism is just dissipating,
Yeah.
really, without us having to think about it. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what a world we're going to evolve into. Yes, it's going to be tough and huge challenges, but I just love the work you've created. Because obviously the challenge when you feel so purposeful and driven is to hone that into something to offer that feels right for you, that works, that you have the ability to manage.
Mm.
And I think your men's groups are fantastic. I think it's such a powerful and essential part of how people can cope with right now. And actually, not just cope, actually strive, thrive, and actually really grow into a whole new connected. So I talk a lot about connection with the internal voice and our
Yeah.
internal selves, the internal self. And that's so is that what you cover? Tell us a little bit about what you do in your groups and how they evolve. So you're a coach as well, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. The groups are an hour. So usually the men's groups are 2.5 hours. There are open groups and closed groups. And I train people, including women. They're going to be launching the women's groups that I haven't done for a long time. And we have female facilitators. My hormones don't extend that far. So I wouldn't be very handy. I can only take it so far. But with the check-in groups, it's very, very simple. We have ground rules. We agree the ground rules. I have a bell. I used to be a feng shui consultant, and it saved hours with my magic bell clearing a space than having to clap and do things. So we have
All of that. All that crazy hand stuff, and yeah, I get it.
exactly. So we have 2 minute silence, and then after that, quite simply, it's generally something like your name, how you feel right now, and what's up, what's being triggered, or what do you need, or anything, so people can just offload with what's going on. People have come from all over the world, and it's been amazing how so many men have actually said, I have met more depth and more quality in these groups with total strangers that I've never met than in 20 years with my workmates, even though 9 times out of 10 we'll go drinking together and it's just rubbish. And so many men have said, um, there's no sports. We've got nothing to talk about. And, I'm not sure I want to hang out with these guys anymore. So we've met at a depth that people have never really considered or experienced, or imagined has existed, because it's never been in their lives. And necessity has often brought them here. And when they show up, not everyone is in panic and trauma. Sadly, most men don't have a friend, a true friend, and it's lonely. And most men are so busy doing and staying out of trouble. And this is the boy in them, reacting rather than responding, proving their masculinity rather than including their femininity, and competing rather than being able to collaborate. And all of that just changes. Even so, the first question, your name, that's them announcing themselves and taking their space. And the second question, how do you feel right now? That can be a can of worms, because a lot of men haven't had the space or anyone actually asking, how are you? How do you feel? And meaning the question, and being able to hear the truth of how people feel. And within an hour, see it change or not, because it's not about putting on a good show. It's about showing up. It's about being true. And then after that, whatever's up, well, it's not that anyone's going to process them or fix them or abandon them or laugh at them or anything like that. It's just listening. And what we do, and I think this is the way that I've only recently realized in writing my ebook, this is the way that my groups differ from other places, is we just open up the question. So, for example, there was a time when someone said, well, actually, I feel suicidal. And a lot of people were a bit shocked or scared or worried or wanted to fix. And the round was, so we open things up into a round. So everyone learns from everyone else's experience. And the round was, when's the last time you felt suicidal? And how did you manage it? So that man is not alone, and he's not picked on or fixed. It's, yeah, me too. And we can all talk about it. Plus, the most important thing with that is he remembers that he might have felt it before and it's past. And I know that when I was there, it was like, it's always been like that. It's always going to be like that. There is no way out. So I will remove myself from the situation. And the pain could get so bad that it becomes logical. There's no feeling anymore. And the logical answer is, well, if I can't control it or everyone or everything, then my control is removing myself. But for men to know and hear from other men, I've been there and it's past. And this is what I did. And this is how I was. And it could be something quite light, that I shouted at my child. I'm not used to having them around. And, you know, she is 4 years old and she won't shut up. And I love her, but this is 24 hours a day. So then that can be talked about. And we can do, because there will be parents in the room. There will be people who've been shouted at and how it affected them. So it's like, between us, what's our experiences? How have we managed this or not? And that's it. We just hold each other and tell the truth. And from there, people have stepped up to learn how to facilitate, because we get so many people now that it breaks up into smaller rooms. So it's not a performance to the crowd. It's more of a little safe space where you can say what you want to say, if you want to say anything. And if you don't, then it's fine to say pass.
Yeah, it's such a very, very valuable. Sorry, I'm kind of recoiling from the stories you've just shared with me, because I know, it just, the energy of all that. I'm an energy Reiki trained person. I'm kind of feeling it, so I'm feeling a bit like,
Yeah.
wow. But yeah, it's I think it's fantastic what you're offering. And there are two things that jump up from what you've just really said, is that there's no judgment, and also that there's this ability to value that actually it's not just you.
Yeah.
And I think women are fortunate in a way, because actually we are more emotionally able to dig into what is going on for us and share. And we
Yeah.
don't have that, because we don't have that generally. I am generalizing. Don't have that fear that we are failing by struggling.
Mm.
Whereas, sadly, so many men do. And so I see, and in fact, this concept of recreating tribal circle time
Yeah.
is such a valuable, and thankfully, there are other ways, there are other forms coming through, aren't there, of doing this. One of the authors in the book is doing carpentry circle time,
Mm.
which is just beautiful. So because he is a carpenter and a builder. Anyway, so it's a really wonderful, powerful way, and I'm really grateful that you have come on the show and are sharing this brilliant story, because obviously that is what the book Being Fine is all about, which is kind of part of the reason why we're talking, because it, it is the other F word, this fine word. And also you said about the question, and I think that's also key, is that when you ask someone a question, it shouldn't just be, you okay? It should be, are you really okay? Or
Yeah.
if you are you okay, are you really okay? Are you sure you're okay right now? And bring it into the present. Because we
Yeah.
can generally feel like we're okay, even if at that
Spot
moment
on.
in time we're feeling actually really, really properly terrible.
Mm.
And we are so used to saying that word, it doesn't mean anything. I'm just going to pause the record because my dog is going to start barking. Hold on 1 second. Okay, thank you for that. The dog has quietened down. The veg man has gone, so we are good. The both are working from home. Okay, so yeah, so let's bring it back to that very powerful word of fine, F-I-N-E. And
And the
it's
shock when people, especially men, are asked, how are you? Generally, it's not normal that anyone's actually asking a question. It's a nicety. And the fine is take the spotlight off me, rather than you really care and you want to know. And it can be really vulnerable to actually tell the truth and then to be left in the air. So the fine that I've known since the 80s is fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotionally unavailable. And it is this is the question, this is the answer, run away. This is the question, this is the answer, talk about the weather, or bitch about someone, because then we're bonding, because we're close, because that's the common enemy. Where it's amazing to listen to people, even for the first time, answer in whatever way. And they may not talk about how they feel. It may be more something to do with thinking. And then a little bit further on, after they talk about what's up, then I might ask again, how are you now? And that's when the penny starts to drop, because then they will feel how they are. They've just shared something, even if it's something silly, but to listen and then to hear other men tell the truth, or even fumble with the question. A lot of people, and I totally respect them, won't take the lid off, because there is fear, that I had this fear, that if I start feeling, then I might really start to cry and cry and cry, and I'll never be able to stop. And if I start thinking and start unpicking things, then I might just go bonkers, because there's so much I've been surviving that I'm sure that I will go bonkers, and I'll end up dressed in white in a straitjacket, and my mind will be busy, but there'll be no connection to the outside world because I'm busy thinking. Luckily, it didn't happen. And I would say that's partly due to community, due to my closest friends, or due to me. And, a man's greatest fear, I believe, is abandonment and humiliation. So if I do tell the truth and I'm abandoned, no, I'm not going to risk that. And I'm laughed at, I'm not sure I'd be able to survive that. But for people to keep coming back to the check-in groups, and it could be a different group every day, and then eventually maybe join a closed group, because then it's the same men for 6 months at least, generally for years, it's being held by a community. And these people are the people, they have WhatsApp groups as well, the people who do want to know you, and who do want you to know them, and who do want to share what's going on, because then it's safe to take the lid off and to talk things through, or just to check in and say, not such a great day, or had a bit of a knock, or you'll never believe the goodness that's happened, and I'm so chuffed I've got you lot to share it with, because you'll get it. But that's community, and that's caring, and it's something that people generally experience for the first time in their lives, or the first time since they were toddlers, or since before they got married, maybe, school or something like that. But it is amazing to be held, even in a moment. Some people just come to one group and they need to say something, and then they're free of it. And to me, it's naming it. where a lot of people will blame it. I can't move on from this, and it's because of this and this and this and this. And it's handy to know the story, but don't let the story own you. It's about, for me, living beyond the story when you're ready, when you feel it's your time, and when it's safe for you to start living rather than surviving. So it's name it rather than blame it or shame it. And so many men are owned by their shame or by their fear of shame. So it's a huge it's a huge new paradigm, and it's a safe place just to start, just to take the first step. And I give away all my tools, and I have my training day and whatever, because it can't be about me and my personality. It's about whoever wants to use the tools. And now the other facilitators are starting their own closed groups, and it's who is right personality wise, or where they are in their lives now for which group. So the right man goes to the right place and then leaves, which is fine, or moves to another group, which is fine, or picks up the tools to pass on in their own families or communities or however they wish to. But it's about, here's the opportunity to go from am I to I am, from unconscious and surviving to conscious and living and loving and passing it on. And there's nothing in the world I'd rather be doing.
Just amazing, and we're so glad you are doing it, Penny, because you are inspiring. I could listen to you for hours, and it's so much value just already just given in this short interview with me. So thank you very
Thank
very
you.
much for that. And your groups are called Men Speak, and
Yeah.
people can find them online, can't they, to register?
Yeah. It's easy. Mensgroups.co.uk. How's that for a URL?
Hey, it says what it does on the tin. It's like,
Exactly.
keep it simple. It's always the best of the brand. Always, always. So blessings to you. Thank you for joining me. And also, I hope the listeners and the viewers have enjoyed this very incredible moment of inspiration and sharing. And get Kenny's book as well, obviously. And hopefully, after this interview's finished, I'm going to coerce him into being fine, because we would love to have this incredible message in that too. So thank you for tuning in. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you.